Hello everyone, and welcome to day number 5 of our 6th custom mail-in tournament. For our first group to start the day, we will have Papa, Zoomer Bayou, Ronnie, and Mike's Diecast. The race begins. Ronnie starts to take a bit of a lead, followed closely by Mike's Diecast. They have the two inside lanes, and now they're going back and forth for the lead. Ronnie currently holding on to the lead, but can they maintain it? They approach the winding turns at the same time. Mike's Diecast seems to have navigated it slightly better, but they are still neck and neck at this point. Ronnie with the inside lane compared to him. Can they hold on to the lead? They're pulling away now towards the finish line, and they get the win. A great start for Ronnie. 14:09 is their time. Stevie C from day 2 still has the fastest time of 13.33. And he is only one of 2 racers so far in this tournament that have been undefeated. The other was done by Numbskull in day 4. But that was a fantastic performance on the final stretch by Ronnie as they stayed in the middle, away from the walls for the most part, spinning out. This is a track about good speed and good control. Ronnie and Mike, at least, seem to have that for sure. Zoomer Bayou and Papa have some work to do. And now here we go into the second race. They are neck and neck yet again. Papa and Zoomer seem to be together while Mike's Diecast is trying to keep up with Ronnie. He does have the outside lane right now, but they're about to get the inside, so that may help them. And it is. They're side by side yet again. Ronnie trying to pull back away again before the lanes merge. And they have an ever so slight lead. They're trying to stop Mike's Diecast from passing them, and they are successful, finishing with another win under their belt. That time it was a little bit closer though, and everyone was able to finish. We had an unfortunate turn of events with Tito in the last one, so hopefully any racers who saw that will learn from it and try to keep control of their vehicle, especially when they're going fast around the curves. But a 14.34, that is a decent time. But considering Stevie C was able to finish about a full second faster than that, you might want to rethink your strategy. Here we go into race number 3. Ronnie looking to get the third win to automatically progress to the next round. They're starting off with the outside-most lane, but will get the 2 inside lanes in the latter half. They're staying side by side with Mike's Diecast. Both of them pop into the air, but they get back on their wheels and keep going. And now Ronnie seems to have maintained more of the momentum as they're heading towards the finish line now. Multiple lengths ahead of Mike's, but they spin around and go sideways, allowing Mike's Diecast to pass them at the last moment. So Ronnie will not get a sweep or be undefeated. Papa tried to pass Zoomer Bayou at the last second. I don't think they were as fortunate. These are definitely some nail-biters. When you have 2 racers that are constantly next to each other, it's hard to tell what's going to happen when. One little slip-up could mean the difference between victory and defeat. But that was a valiant effort by Papa in the final stretch, but unfortunately they could not pass Zoomer Bayou. But now Ronnie and Mike's Diecast, they are almost tied for points. Ronnie still has the slight edge, but it's looking pretty good for the 2 of them. They are now in the 2 middle lanes, so they're likely going to be next to each other for a good chunk of this race, without one pulling away very far over the other. Ronnie, their back end popping up like popcorn as they go through the winding turns, but they keep going, and they still have the lead by a decent amount, no less. And they spin around again, but they manage to keep more of their speed, and they finish in first one more time. So no sweep, but it will be Mike's Diecast and Ronnie moving on to the next round, leaving only 2 slots available that will be taken up by 2 of the 4 racers in the next round. Or the next group, I suppose, would be better. A nice clean spin by Ronnie, but you don't want to do that too much, especially when you know someone is hot on your tail. That concludes this group, Ronnie and Mike's Diecast. Moving on. Now we will jump over to our second group of the day. And that second group has Flames, Steadfast Diecast, Grandpa, and the King. The race begins, and the King is already out in front by multiple lengths. And they have the inside lane. They're starting to pull away from the rest of the pack already. Now they're heading into the winding turns. Let's see how they handle them. Barely popping loose at all. And now they have the two outside lanes, but their lead is just so vast already that I don't think anyone can catch them unless they really slip up, which they're not doing. They stay in front, grabbing the victory. And that run definitely looked quicker than a 14.22, but that is the time they pulled. Trying to finish under 14 seconds is practically a must at this point. But we will see if anyone else can do it. Numbskull was able to do it in the last video a handful of times. It's just a matter of who else can possibly pull it off. All four racers finished. Let's take a look at the points now. Grandpa is in the back right now, but the King is out in front. And now for race number 2, they have switched lanes. Will it play any differently? So far, no. The King is holding on to the lead, and it looks like they slingshot themselves forward using the outside lane. Some racers are able to do that. For some, the outside lanes will kill their speed. For others, it only seems to make them go faster. And that seems to be the case for the King, as they're out in front heading towards the finish line without any competition anywhere near them. And they managed to get win number 2. 14.16 is their time now. And here come the other racers. In fact, I dare say we have a non-finish, and I believe it will be Grandpa. And that does seem to be the case. A common place to be stopped is that last curve, and they are on the outside-most lane. Very unfortunate, because you get so close, but if you don't cross that finish line, you are not getting any points. Now the King might actually go a little bit slower in the tighter turns, which I guess can be different for each racer depending on the build. But they are still pulling off decent times. They want to try and at least go, I would say, a half second faster if possible. But only time will tell if that happens. Now race number 3. The King is one race away from taking one of the last 2 spots in the final. And so far they haven't showed any sign that that won't happen. Now they're in the middle lanes. Let's see if that affects them at all. Not really. They're barely shaken up by the curves. And they just keep it going. It looks like they've lost a bit of speed, though. But it seems like they're at least picking some of it back up. They did start to skid sideways, but they used the wall to straighten themselves out. And they managed to stay in first, thus automatically moving on. And look at this. Grandpa had an opportunity to finish in 3rd, but by the time they got to the finish line, everyone had passed them. You look at this. I don't know if the King really popped loose during those curves at all. And even if they did, it was ever so slight that you would blink and miss it entirely. But it definitely seems like the King knows what they're doing. Even when they start to skid sideways, they quickly find a solution to fix the problem. And an unfortunate result for Grandpa, who at this point hasn't finished any better than 4th. In fact, they didn't even finish in the second race, so hopefully for them, they can go out on a high note. The King is now looking to get a sweep. We've had a small list of people get sweeps, but only 2 have stayed undefeated so far. The King with one of the middle lanes, once again, Their back end popped loose for just a split second there, but it didn't phase them much at all. Now they're heading into the final turn, towards the straightaway, into the finish line, looking to get the sweep, staying off the walls, and they get one. And they almost managed to get under 14 seconds this time around, falling short by 0.06, or 0.07 if you want to be technical. And we have another non-finish, but I don't think it's Grandpa this time. It is not. It is the same spot where Grandpa did not finish earlier, but this time it was someone else. Sometimes it's the winding curves that causes someone to not finish. Sometimes it's a wide turn. And sometimes it's just a straight path for whatever reason. But the results can vary from racer to racer. Now that means the King will have a sweep. And between all the racers that are moving on, with Steadfast Diecast being the one joining the King, only the King themselves can be the one to be undefeated coming out of this video. Ronnie was close earlier, but they did not finish in first in one of their races. So it's all up to the King right now. They do have the lead right now, starting in the middle. Ronnie staying side by side. Here comes Mike's Diecast as well. But it's a kind of two, maybe three-way battle. It seemed like the King was shaken up a little bit, knowing that someone was right beside them for a good chunk of this race. And here comes Ronnie again, trying to catch up to them. It looks like they have the speed to do it, but the King blocks them. So the King will still finish in first with a 14.09. That is so close to the 14-second mark, but not quite there yet. So that's one race down, three more, and the King could be the third racer to be undefeated after 5 videos. It is within their grasp, but they do have some good competition in these other 3. So we'll have to see if the pressure gets to them or if they can hold on to it. They are starting off with the lead at the beginning of this next race. In one of the middle lanes once again. Ronnie right next to them. And here comes everyone else once more. Looks like Ronnie did pop loose a couple times, allowing the King to get more of a lead, though it's not much of an improvement. Now heading into the final stretch. The King staying off the walls, and they do manage to finish in first again. They are 2 races away from being undefeated, and they did manage to finish under 14 seconds. 14 seconds this time around with 13.88. But it almost looked like Ronnie went vertical in those winding turns for just a moment. Somehow they were able to save it and keep the race going to the point where they might have been able to finish in second, and that's what the judges are saying. So right now it looks very good for the King and Ronnie, but neither one of them is out of the woods yet, I would say. It could still potentially be anyone's game. And now that they have 2 very different lanes, let's see how it plays out. Ronnie trying to slingshot themselves in front of the King. They almost had too much speed going through those winding turns. But now they have the inside lane, and that seems to be helping them as they now have the lead. The King seeing this, trying to go faster. Unable to catch up to Ronnie though, but they are closing the gap. It was not enough though. Ronnie has stopped the King from staying undefeated. And this will also help Ronnie in points for sure. A fantastic race. It's looking very good for the King and Ronnie. Mike's Diecast. They are ever so close every time, but they cannot get past the King or Ronnie right now. And there's one race left. The points distributed between the King and Ronnie makes it difficult for the other 2 to make any sort of events happen. But look at this, Mike's Diecast holding on to the lead right now with the inside lane. They're heading into the curves in first, but now they're slowly losing that lead. In fact, both Ronnie and the King have passed them, and those two have the insidemost lanes right now. The King with the lead currently. Here comes Ronnie, but they spin out, losing some speed, allowing the King to get the win. Mike's Diecast almost lost third place there, but we can see in a second how that fiasco played out just as they got to the finish line. Take a look at this. You can see Ronnie trying to catch him, but they spun out. Mike's Diecast spun out as well, but they blocked their opponent. In fact, they ended up on their side just as they crossed, showing how exhausted they were. The King and Ronnie, the next two to move on to the next phase of the tournament. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Today, we would like to take a moment or two to acknowledge Spoolheads. Spoolheads is the company that Races and Fun has been pulling from to create the wonderful tracks that you've been seeing in this tournament and in previous ones. Since we already had day one of the 6 custom mail-in tournament, you may have seen pieces of Spoolheads' work already being put on display. And even if you haven't, if you've been tuning in for a while, you have definitely seen a lot of their work before. Spoolheads is a wonderful organization that can create all kinds of different track pieces for you. All track pieces are 3D printed, and it may take a little bit of time to get to you, but I can promise you, the wait is more than worth it, as you've already seen in the videos that Races and Fun makes. Anything that you could possibly think of, chances are Spoolhead has you covered. If not, perhaps you can work with them and create something that you hadn't seen before. From open lanes, sharp turns, curved turns, ramps, snakeways, bridges, anything that you can think of, I am sure Spoolheads has. Just reach out to them and see what you can create. They even have something like a start gate. If you want all your racers to begin at the same time for the fairest option, they have a start gate waiting just for you. Really, the only limits there are your imagination and the space you have to work with. But even if you have a tight space, Spoolheads has plenty of different options that you can choose from to navigate around the space that you have. And again, it is all worth it. Just make sure to contact them if you have any questions or orders to place with them, and they will get back to you. They have a wonderful service, and if you want your own tournaments, make sure to create the tracks with Spoolheads. Reach out for their website and Facebook for more information.